watching Sunday Sound Off with Frank Boal.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sunday Sound Off. Before you start yelling and screaming, Villanova happens to be my alma mater, and I'm very proud of it. Syracuse happens to be Seren Petro's alma mater. And Seren, how are you this evening?
You know what, Frank? I am quite proud. This is an unexpected little gift that has been presented to us Syracuse grads. So very exciting times. Glad to be here. And thank you for commanding me to wear something saying Syracuse. Means I got to come down here in what is my radio attire.
Yeah, well, and I didn't want to be all alone with my Villanova squad on, so I dragged you in the middle so I can yell at you too. Cody Tapp making his first appearance. Cody from Sports Radio 810 WHB as well. Cody, how are you?
I'm doing great, although I wasn't invited to wear my UMKC sweater, so I
feel
a little left out.
You know how those things go. And Blair Kirkhoff for the KC Star, their fine columnist. Blair, how are you?
I'm great, Frank, and I'm just stunned that the sweater that you wore in the late 40s still fits you.
Hey, you know what? You won't believe this, Blair, but this is over 50 years old.
I'll believe it. We all believe it, Frank.
Look at the back. Look at that logo. That's not even close to the Villanova logo.
We got no problem believing it,
all
Frank.
All right. Never mind. Gentlemen, here are hot topics of the evening. First of all, why do Bill Self's teams seem to struggle in the NCAA tournament? We'll find out if that's a truth or a fallacy. Are you confident in the Royals' rotation coming up? Number 3, how will Justin Houston's injury impact the Chiefs? But, of course, as usual, our question of the week, Kansas lost to Villanova because Seren.
Because it's basketball, and you don't go 12-0. You don't go 16, 17-0 like they were doing. It just basketball games, you play so many of them, you can play down, other teams can play up, and Kansas didn't have their best game. Villanova played great. They're a really good team. I think they're better than anybody gave them credit for coming into this tournament. A lot of people thought that was the easy draw for Kansas. Right. Get by Maryland, and you're there easy. But I think also this just isn't their most talented team. They don't have guys that can just single-handedly get shots and make shots. We saw that today out of the Syracuse Orange. They do have a couple of guys that can get their own shots and make them. Kansas doesn't have that. They're incredibly well coached. They do a fantastic job of just grinding out win after win after win. But when everybody brings their game up to the highest level, sometimes they're left lacking. And this year's team just isn't as talented as other ones.
Cody Tapp.
Well, I think when you're saying they played down, that's a fair question about them. But when you look at the way Kansas lost, it's because they were unable to get Perry Ellis going. I mean, teams can play down, and Villanova was the only team ranked first in the country besides Kansas down the stretch. But when you have Perry Ellis go for 4 points, you've got to give Villanova credit for doing what other teams couldn't, finding a way to stop Perry Ellis. And Kansas hurt themselves, too, because when they used Perry Ellis, they used him in an incorrect way. They just sat him down in the post and didn't use his versatility. The way Perry Ellis works best is get him working everywhere. Work him off the wing or the elbow. Get him to step out and shoot threes, which is a big part of what he worked on in the offseason. And when you see that out of Kansas, and he's just sitting down on the low block, and Oshefu can bother him, only getting 4 points out of Perry Ellis really cost you. Now, don't get me wrong. 1 of 12 from guys not named Devontae Graham from 3, Frank Mason and Wayne Selden missing those shots too. Certainly did. I thought they got open shots against the zone in the second half, but if you don't hit those shots, you end up losing to a team like Nova, as good as they are.
Okay, Blair, you were there all weekend. What do you think?
Well, Cody's right that to drill down, Ellis is 4, Selden 0 for 6 on threes. I'll even go further. I think Frank Mason been bothered by a hip problem that he passed up some open looks against Villanova and shots that he would have taken, I think, if he were feeling 100% healthy. Devontae Graham was really the only offensive weapon that Kansas had in that game. So just a multitude of reasons, and the biggest one, Seren touched on it. Villanova is a very, very good team, a team that I think is capable of winning the national championship. Keep in mind, before Kansas became number 1 at the end of the season, Villanova held that position in the polls for the 3 weeks prior to that. Villanova was a top-ranked team in the country. This was a 2 beating a 1 in a region final. There's no shame in that for Kansas.
Yeah, and the NCAA couldn't wait. Villanova loses Seton Hall, and they run them all the way to up against Kansas, making them the number 4, number 2, and they really should have been the number 1, number 2. So and I think Villanova played with that chip on their shoulder as well. Up next, our hot topics. You're watching Sunday Sound Off.